Today we're diving into a captivating story from the Bible about a young man named David. Many of you know him as the great king of Israel, the giant slayer, or the composer of Psalms. But his journey to the throne was anything but a straight line. We're going to explore a specific wild period in David's life, a time when he wasn't wearing a crown, but was instead a fugitive hiding in the dark caves of the desert. It's a private war between a jealous king and a loyal subject. It's a story of survival, betrayal, and a remarkable act of forgiveness that still resonates today. Imagine a young boy barely out of childhood tending a flock of sheep on the hillsides of Israel.
His name was David, and he was the youngest of 8 brothers.
No one, not even his own family, ever expected him to be anyone important. But one day, the prophet Samuel arrived at their home with a secret mission. Guided by God, he bypassed the tall, strong older brothers and chose the youngest. He anointed David with oil, a symbol that he would one day be the king of Israel. From a humble shepherd to a future monarch, it was a secret that changed everything. But David didn't rush to the palace. He went back to his sheep and waited. Fast forward a few years, David becomes a national hero after defeating the giant Goliath. Suddenly, he's a star. He's a commander in the army, a talented musician in the royal court, and even the king's son-in-law. Everyone loved him. But this popularity had a dark side. The current king, Saul, watched David's rising star and felt a cold grip of fear. Jealousy is a dangerous emotion. It began to consume Saul. He didn't see David as a loyal soldier anymore. He saw him as a rival who wanted to steal his throne. Saul's jealousy turned into paranoia, and eventually it turned into a death warrant. He ordered his guards to kill David. The hero was now a hunted man. David had to flee his home, his wife, and his position. He became a fugitive in his own country. But David wasn't alone for long. Out in the wilderness, he was joined by a group of about 400 men, mostly outcasts, people in debt, or those who were mistreated by Saul's government. David, the shepherd boy, became a shepherd of men. They lived in the rugged terrain, sleeping under the stars and moving constantly to stay one step ahead of Saul's army. They were tired, hungry, and living in constant high alert. Eventually, David and his men moved toward the region of Gedi, near the Dead Sea. It's a place of extremes, harsh, rocky cliffs, but also hidden springs and deep limestone caves. It was the perfect place to disappear. One afternoon, King Saul arrived in Gedi with 3,000 elite troops. He was determined to end this private war once and for all. During the search, Saul stepped away from his army to find some privacy. He walked into a large, dark cave to relieve himself, completely unaware that David and his men were crouching in the very back of that same cave, watching him from the shadows. This was the moment. David's men whispered to him, "This is it. This is the day God promised you. Your enemy is right there, defenseless. Kill him, and the war is over. You can finally go home and be king." David crept forward, his sword drawn. But as he looked at the back of the man who had been trying to kill him, David felt a check in his spirit. Instead of striking Saul, he reached out and silently cut off a small corner of the king's royal robe. Even then, David felt guilty. His heart smote him just for damaging the robe. He realized that even though Saul was acting like a villain, he was still the Lord's anointed, the sitting king. David refused to take the throne by force or by blood. When Saul finished and walked out of the cave to rejoin his army, David followed him out. From a safe distance on the cliffside, David called out,
"Hear me, my lord the king!"
Saul turned around, shocked. David bowed low to the ground and held up the piece of cloth. He said, "Look, my father, look at this piece of your robe in my hand. I cut it off, but I did not kill you. I have no rebellion in my heart. Why are you hunting me like a partridge in the mountains?" The silence in the canyon must have been heavy. David's vulnerability and his refusal to strike back broke Saul's heart of stone. Saul began to weep. He called out, "Is that your voice, David, my son?" In that moment, Saul saw the truth. David was more righteous than he was. Saul admitted that he had rewarded David with evil, while David had rewarded him with good. For a brief window of time, the war stopped. Saul took his army and went home, acknowledging that David would indeed be king one day. The story of David in the caves of Gedi isn't just an ancient history lesson, it's a masterclass in character. It teaches us that integrity matters more than convenience. David could have ended his problems with one swing of a sword, but he chose the harder path of doing what was right. It also shows us the power of mercy. Forgiveness doesn't mean you let people hurt you. David didn't walk right up to Saul and surrender, but it does mean you refuse to become the monster you are fighting. Finally, it reminds us to trust the process. David knew he was destined to be king, but he refused to help God by committing a crime to get there. He was willing to wait for the right time in the right way. Next time you feel like someone is out to get you, or you're tempted to take a shortcut to success, think of David in that dark cave. True power isn't found in the sword. It's found in the self-control to keep it sheathed.